McCART, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. The Mitchell brothers are back in the house. Listen, Adam, I do appreciate your time as always, but you're not in your house. We've got all your memorabilia behind you, all your UFC stuff, all your boxing stuff. So just, where are you? What's going on?
I'm in London. I'm in a hotel at the moment, mate, 'cause I'm on the radio tonight. We've got fight night on TalkSport. So every weekend I always pop down to London, live like Alan Partridge for a couple of days, mate, and get a few little bits and bats doing. We're just cooking up a little something for Fight Disciples coming up in March as well. Hopefully that'll be more. There'll be something that I can talk about a little bit more of once I've finalised it, but hopefully that won't be too far away, mate. You've only invited me back on, by the way, because obviously you're the better looking version of the Mitchell brother, and you just can get yourself on screen when I'm here, Sunshine, and obviously get yourself a bit of kudos. That's what it is, isn't it?
No, listen. I just like to hear your voice, mate. I like to see your face. I like to hear your voice. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I can do a little bit of Adam today. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. I wish my way, mate.
You're just breaking up a little bit, Adam, but I'm pretty sure you said something about your wife feeling like that. But
yeah, well, like you obviously love me more than my wife loves me, mate. That's what I was basically saying.
Well, that's very, very much true, except I won't do the stuff the wife does to you. So we went a bit left field there. Listen, the reason I want to get you on is obviously the news with the purse bid, Tyson Fury and DILLAIN WHYTE. I mean, obviously, I know that you and your partner in crime, Nick Pete, it seems like you're like I said to you before I pushed record there, you're the ambassadors for the undisputed in boxing. You're always calling for the undisputed fight. You want an undisputed fight, so there's no arguments, which is fair to say, which is fair enough, right? We're not getting that right now, Usyk and Tyson Fury, but we are getting DILLAIN WHYTE and Tyson Fury. Your quick reaction to
that? Listen, man, at the start of the week, I was quite excited because the noises seemed to be that this talk of step aside was a very real thing. I doubted it because I didn't think that was what Anthony Joshua was going to do. But some of the people that I was speaking to saying that a lot of people in his camp, a lot of his team were quite favourable towards it. And as everybody saw on TalkSport last week, I was saying myself, listen, man, it makes perfect business sense. You know, take the step aside, give yourself a little bit of extra time with your new training camp that you're going to go into, and then fight for the Undisputed Championship come the end of the year once Fury and Usyk have taken care of business. So I was optimistic that I would get exactly what I wanted, the undisputed fight. And then obviously a few things have happened throughout the course of the week, and we've ended up with a purse bid situation yesterday, and we're back into the semi-final stages. And I know that people will come at me and say, we're talking about semi-final stages, man. We've got two great fights. We've got Tyson Fury versus DILLAIN WHYTE. We're going to get the rematch between AJ and Usyk. Yeah, we do have two good fights, all right? But we've got the number one against number 4. Okay, good fight in normal circumstances. And we've got the number 2 against the number 3. Again, good fight in normal circumstances, but it's number 2 against number 3 again. I've seen it. I've seen 2 against 3. I'm ready for 1 against 2. That's what all fight fans want, you know. All fight fans want one song per weight division. I remember at the start of last year, mate, doing a piece purely on the WBA, right? 17 weight categories, 44 individual male champions. Come on. How can you sell that to your mate who just loves football and you're saying, come and watch the big fights? Right, go on, then who's the champion in this division? Well, there's 4 actually at middleweight at the moment, mate. And there's this guy in recess. And we don't want none of that. I want this an easy sell. We love this game, right? And even us that love this game, it's hard sometimes to get our head around the nonsense politics. Let's make this as easy as possible and just have 1 champion per division. We've got a delay situation now before we get, hopefully, to the opportunity of fighting for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Hopefully, we will get there. I think we only get there if there's a certain victor in one fight and a certain victor in the other fight, because let's be honest, if Anthony Joshua beats Alexander Usyk and he comes to the table with Tyson Fury, egos are going to be there again, man, especially after the way that everything played out this week. Are we going to be able to get to a situation where they can voluntarily negotiate the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world? Hopefully they can, but I don't know.
But like you said, it's not 1 and 2 that we want, because I think I'm in the same boat as you and Nick. Like, I really want to see an undisputed heavyweight champion. I want 1 champion. Do you know what I mean? Like you're talking about the semi-finals, but again, it's still a semi-final. It's still Tottenham v Chelsea and Man United versus Man City. Do you know what I mean? It's still 2 very, very good fights. Even though we have seen Joshua and Usyk before, we haven't seen Tyson Fury and DILLAIN WHYTE. Now, we know they've been going back and forth, jabbing at each other on Twitter and and Instagram and stuff like that for a good 3 or 4 years now. So this fight is intriguing. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a good build-up like we always want. We like the press conferences and the weigh-ins and stuff like that. So we're going to get that with Dillian White and Tyson Fury. But the fight itself, what are you expecting from it? I mean, you've got Dillian White who's waiting for the shot patiently, and he's up against Tyson Fury, who's took out probably the hardest punch in the heavyweight division twice, back to back. So what kind of fight are you expecting?
Just before I answer the way that the fight plays out, you're absolutely right with what you've just said there. It is a good fight and it will be absolutely captivating. I actually think for the, and I hate using this term, but for the casual audience, it's actually the most attractive fight maybe out of the four, bar obviously Fury versus AJ, because the press conferences will just be carnage. The way that they go at each other on social media will just be carnage. And the fight could actually be an absolute firecracker. Onto your question, I think the way that this fight plays out is purely on Tyson Fury. We know, right, he could make this a stinker. He could nullify everything that Dillian White does. He could go on the back foot, he could box his ears off for 12 rounds, and he could have a little bit of a shutout. And we all come away going, but he's got a bit of a taste recently, hasn't he? For going forward and having a bit of a go with dudes that whack a bit. And I think that if he puts himself at risk in this fight, that then gives Dillian White more of an opportunity to do what Dillian White does. He's one of the most improved fighters over the last 3 to 4 years, Dillian. There's no doubt about that. I would, if you're asking me to bet on the fight right now, I'm betting always towards Tyson Fury. But if Tyson Fury decides, let's have it, we've got a fight in our hands. And you never know, man. It's heavyweight boxing. That big left hook might land and it might cause a bit of damage.
You said that Tyson's got a taste for that, to go taste for going at the big hitters. Obviously, that's the Kronk way, that's the Sugar Hill Stewart way. He's obviously brought that out in Tyson Fury a little bit now. When I'm thinking about it, I'm like, can I see a similar fight to what Wilder 3 was, when there was 5 knockdowns and it was excitement? And can we see that? Can we see multiple knockdowns? Because like in the heavyweight division, normally takes one shot and then knocked out. Yeah. We hardly ever see knockdowns, especially in a heavyweight fight. Normally it takes one shot, a couple of knockdowns, and then it's a knockout. You know what I mean? But for this fight, can we see a similar to the Wilder 3 fight?
Yeah, but again, it comes down to Tyson. What does Tyson want to do in the fight? Does he want to box, or does he want to have a scrap? If he wants to have a scrap, then that favours. When I say favours, Tyson likes to scrap as well, of course, but it brings Dillian White more into the fight. If he just wants to box, I think it's a shutout. I really do, mate. But if he wants to have a proper fight and go forward, as he's done in his last couple of knocks, then yeah, exactly what you just said there. It could be absolutely brilliant. It really could.
I think I read some, I don't know if it was TalkSport or something like that, but it's been 1,100 days plus since Tyson Fury's fought in the UK. You must be happy to see him back on these shores. But, you know.
Yeah, I think it's been an unbelievable journey, hasn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, listen, we've been blessed. People in the media, people that cover this sport have been blessed, but not a lot of fans have the opportunity to get on planes, fly around the world and go and watch various fights. And Tyson Fury obviously has set up camp a lot in America recently. He's had some fantastic showcases, and 2 fantastic fights as well in recent times. But to have him back in the UK, I think it's good. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see how that success, how that journey of where he was to where he is right now, how that has now transcended, not necessarily just between the boxing family, but also into the mainstream media. We always say that the money, the commercial guy in the heavyweight division is Anthony Joshua. And I still believe that that's the case. I really do. But I'm really looking forward to seeing if they do book the Millennium Stadium, as is rumoured, and you've got a 75,000 seat capacity stadium there. The type of demographic that comes out for that fight. You know, you go to an Anthony Joshua fight, it's very different to a normal boxing night, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've got boys and girls going out on date nights to a Joshua fight. It's mad. You know, groups of girls going out and groups of grannies going out and all this, people that you don't necessarily normally see at boxing. I'm actually quite looking forward and anticipating a similar thing, you know, with Fury's journey over the last 4 years. I'm really interested to see what that demographic's like come fight night on the rumour is April 23rd, aren't they?
Yep, definitely. It'll be interesting to see, like, because obviously he's built his following out in the US, Tyson, over the last what, 4 or 5 fights, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see the pulling power. Obviously, Dillon White, and I'm not British heavyweight, he's going to do his part to sell out a stadium, if that. But semi-final number 2, you've seen it. We're going to see it again, looks like. Joshua versus Usyk. Seems like Joshua's, when you look at recent interviews, obviously, but Coogan's done a couple. He seems to be, it seems to be like not the real AJ, but that more, you know what, fuck it, for lack of a better word. He's got that sort of attitude about him now where he's like, you know what, I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to go back to the old me. I'm going to go there. If I get knocked out, I get knocked out, but I'm going to go in swinging. That's the sort of vibe I'm getting for him. So that being said, can you see a different approach to this fight and maybe a different outcome to this fight against Usyk for Joshua?
It has to be, mate. He has to. All those things that you're saying there, they have to be there. We've got to go and turn this into a street fight, because if he goes and tries to box Usyk, he won't just get outboxed this time. Usyk will finish him. He'll knock him out. I think for Anthony Joshua to have any success in a second fight, he's got to put himself at risk. I personally think that and I always go right back to the Klitschko fight. I think the Klitschko fight stings him a bit and makes him think about boxing more than actually going in there and becoming a wrecking machine. And he's boxed behind his jab a lot. You just have to look at the stats of, obviously, pre-Klitschko, the amount of people that he was finishing in fights, to after Klitschko, how long his fights are going, where he's tried to set stuff up. He's boxing behind jabs and he's looking to drown people a little bit later on. Obviously, that doesn't always work, as we've seen with the Ruiz fight and the Usyk fight. But I genuinely think he needs to go back to pre-Klitschko, that dude, in order to listen, he might still get knocked out because he's got to put himself at risk in order to win the fight. And that is perfect for someone like Alexander Usyk, innit? He wants you at risk. He wants you there on the end of wherever he can land something very, very special. It only takes one from him because of how accurate he is. Going back to what you were originally pointing out, for me, that's the only way Anthony Joshua could have any success against Alexander Usyk. But still, right now, with me not knowing who his camp is or his new training team or who he's going to be working with, or even having a conversation with him, because you get a lot from those. I'm sure Coogan's far more educated on this than me, having conversations with AJ rather than me. I think my last one was maybe about 6-7 months ago. Finding out where someone's mentality is at by looking at them in right into their eyes, you get a lot more out of that. So right now, I would favour Usyk. But going back to what you're saying there, the noises that AJ is making about the approach for this fight are a lot more positive than they were going into the first one.
What's the ideal scenario for you then? Obviously, it looks like maybe AJ and Usyk might fall in May time, I think, a couple of weeks after Fury for Wilder. If you for Wilder, I thought that many times, man. It's constantly that just them two names just connect to each other. Fury and White. Sorry, what's the ideal scenario for you? As maybe take the journalistic hat off and put your fan hat on. What are the ideal scenario for you in these two fights?
Well, there is two answers to it, and I'm glad that you pointed it out and give me the prefix of take your journalistic hat off and just go as a fan. As a British fight fan, I want Fury versus AJ. That's what I want, and I want it in a monster stadium here in the UK. I want to feel the roar of 90 to 100,000 people cheering on two Brits going at it and giving us something very, very special. So therefore, when we look back at it in 20, 30 years' time, we go, bloody hell, remember when that fight happened? That was absolutely madness. But then putting the hat back on, I just want to see an undisputed heavyweight championship fight, mate. You know what I mean? We haven't had one since 1999. We've not. I know it was Lennox, and obviously we hold on to that as British fight fans. But I'm sat here going, come on, lads. I just want to see the number one. That's what I want to see. I want to see somebody with all them belts wrapped round them, and then I want that person to get all the belts, lash them in the bend, and say, listen, don't matter no more. Let's get cracking. You know who the number one is. So yeah, if AJ doesn't come through against Alexander Usyk, it doesn't upset me too much because Usyk's elite, man. I love watching Alexander Usyk fight. He's absolutely mustard. And are you telling me that Tyson Fury, who I would favour against Dillian White, takes on an Alexander Usyk? I'm going to lose. I'm not going to be as interested in that as I would. Come on, of course I'm going to be interested in it. It's absolutely a tremendous fight, brilliant stylistic matchup.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. I want the AJ versus Tyson Fury, but if you look at Fury versus Usyk, White versus Usyk, AJ versus Fury, AJ versus White again. I mean, it doesn't matter who these four is. You can chuck in Wilder as well. Wilder might be coming back. You can chuck him in there. So there's five. All these five fighters find each other once, twice, three times. It's our version of them four kings back in the day with Leonard, Duran, help me out. Leonard, Duran,
Hearns,
and Hagler. Jeez, I can't believe I forgot. know what I mean? It's our version.
Saturday night, mate. Saturday night. There you go.
Saturday night. My beer's behind the laptop. You can't see it. Yeah, that's our version of the Four Kings. So hopefully we can maybe get a wee round robin and see them all do it again. But listen, Adam, I know you've got a busy night tonight. You've obviously got, I've seen on Instagram, you've got a few fighters on. Have you not? Have you had them on? Have you been on the video yet?
No. We're on later on, mate. We've got, it's packed. It's packed tonight. Obviously, with everything that happened yesterday, we're going to speak to Frank Warren because I just want to get to see. This is the thing, right? I'm sorry to go off on one here again, mate, but I've seen a lot over the last week where fight fans on social media, even people in from a journalistic standpoint, talking about fight purses, obviously referring back to Francis Ngannou last weekend in the UFC, and then talking about purse splits and all this type of stuff. And they're getting right into it. Now, don't get me wrong, as reporters, you've got to report it. And as I did yesterday, I said, listen, this is what's happened. These are the facts. This is who's won this. This is who's won that. In all honesty, I couldn't care less about how much somebody's getting paid. I couldn't care less, mate. I couldn't care less about a split. I couldn't care less about whether this guy over here gets paid more in this discipline than this guy over here in this discipline. All I'm bothered about are the best fights. Are the best people fighting the best people? And as fans, that's all you should be concerned about. It shouldn't be a case of, yeah, but all right, he's the heavyweight champion in the UFC, but he's only getting paid this. Why are you bothered? Is that heavyweight champion in the UFC fighting the best guy? Yeah, he is. Sweet as an up, mate. These guys over here in boxing, yeah, but look how much they're getting paid in boxing. That shouldn't matter to you. Are the best guys fighting the best guys? That's the only thing that we need to answer. And hopefully going forward, promoters, broadcasters are going to hear that noise from fans and they're going to go and say, right, we've got to get the best guys in with the best guys and we're going to get more of it. Anyway, I went off on one there. Back onto radio. We're going to obviously speak to Frank Warren about winning that purse bid yesterday. $41 million, man. It's just absolutely ludicrous, isn't it? It's just nuts. Richard Schaefer's on as well because obviously Probellum announced a few fights this week, but he's hopefully going to be dropping a bit of news on Inoue Donaire 2 tonight. So that's the fight we want.
Yep.
Come on, man.
Yep.
When we're talking about best against best, that's what we want. I teed him up yesterday. So listen, if you're coming on, I want an announcement on that particular fight, man. To give us that. We've got Calzaghe on, who's gone into management now. And next week, we're live in Cardiff for Eubank and Williams. So we've got them boys on as well. Galal Yafai's on as well. And one of your lads, I've already done this conversation. Yeah, I did it earlier on this week. Lee McGregor, I find him such a captivating guy. He's only 25 years of age. He's had a bloody life already, that kid, and obviously he's got major ambitions this year of going to the very, very top. He's already achieved so much in such a fledgling career, and I think people will get a lot out of listening to him have a little bit of a chat. He's a fight that a lot of people should be behind because he's very, very talented. Definitely,
I totally agree with that. Obviously, being that biased jock that I am. So I definitely agree with that. Listen, Adam, enjoy the rest of your evening in London. Enjoy TalkSport. Enjoy speaking to. I'm actually going to go and see Calzaghe now in an hour's time. He's up in Glasgow just now with James English doing a dinner speak thing, an audience with.
Fantastic, man.
We're going to see him just now, and so I'm looking forward to that. I'm not obviously going to jump in a shower, put the glad rags on, have a couple of beers and rock and roll. But listen, I know you've got work to do because that's why you're better than me, because you're constantly working.
No.
Let's be truthful. I'm the better looking. You're the hardest worker. Give you that.
I'll take hardest working, mate. I'll take hardest working. You are definitely the better looking one.
Adam, thank you so much, mate. I do appreciate your time as always. And listen, until the next one, probably the Probellum show. I'll see you there.
Are you not in Cardiff? I thought you'd be at the Eubank show next week.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not there. My next one is Probellum, March.
Okay. All right, mate.
March 19.
There you go, man.
19, March 18, 19. I'll see you there.
All right, lad. Take care.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you, mate. Bye-bye.
Nice one, mate.